Hello and welcome to Florida League Fridays with Zack and Matt. Matt, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Back at it, week 2 of this podcast, Florida League Fridays. We got some good love, I think, on the first one. So the second one going to be better than ever, and I'm just excited to be back here. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Absolutely, especially with everything that's been going on. The fact that we have baseball week after week after week, we get a chance to be at all the games, call all the action. It's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun bringing this to you guys now, hopefully on a weekly basis. I know it's the Florida League Fridays, and you might not see this until Sunday, but we're sticking with the name because it sounds real cool.
It sounds a lot better.
So let's talk about a couple things that have been going on. I mean, obviously, there's a podcast about the league, so we're going to be talking about some things that have been happening, well, with the league. And this week, a big theme that I saw, so the first couple of weeks we saw, a big separation a little bit, and then this week through is kind of all about, like, revenge and things like that. So a big week of upsets. Let's start off. I was at this game, but I know that you definitely have some thoughts about it. On Tuesday, the Lightning played the Snappers, and the Snappers were in 10th. They only had one win on the season. The Lightning were in first, tied with the Rats. And, the bats for the Lightning just, they vanished. They were non-existent. They had scored 16 runs and 5 runs in the previous 2, and then just 1 against the Snappers. So what were your thoughts about seeing that box score before I go in and give my whole thing about what it was like to be there?
Well, I was pretty surprised because the Snappers played the River Rats on Monday, and they lost that game 4-1 and really didn't have a good offensive showing. The Snappers did, and they've obviously picked it up over the last few games, but they didn't have anything really going offensively. And I was very surprised when I saw that score because what the Lightning have been doing on the mound, shutting out teams and just mowing people down, really. And you look at that box score, 6-1 game. You were obviously there, so you got a little bit more for more input. But just from seeing it, I was really surprised because it's kind of like there's a lot of teams in this league that are good and can be beat every single night.
Yeah.
And this was just the prime example of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's baseball. You can't win every single time out there, and it's the number one sport to me where it's like prime for upset. Maybe hockey, but baseball as well. Like, you can just have a guy that's on, and then there's nothing that anybody can do about it. I mean, and the guy that was on was Dylan Ross in the beginning of the ball game. Allowed just 2 hits, 1 walk, struck out 4. The Lightning couldn't do anything against him or Connor Harris, who had struggled against the Storm his previous time out. That was against at Pat Thomas Stadium. And yet the only guy they got to was Zabowski, and really they didn't even get to him too much. They only had a couple of hits. He was in a little trouble, was able to wiggle out of it, and then Dalton Ross comes in and closes it out. So we knew that the Snappers had a very strong pitching staff, but no type of offense. But, I mean, it was shocking. I mean, Justin Stewart, very good pitcher, gave up 3 runs in his first 3 innings. Then Jude R., the pitcher of the week, comes in and he gives up 3 runs. So, I mean, I guess, like you were saying, there's just some times where a team will really put it all together. And we're going to talk a lot about the Snappers today because they've been on some kind of streak. They're going to pop up on – oh, yeah. They're going to pop up on our next 2 segments moving forward. So, but that was definitely just something that was a huge upset, really surprising. I talked to Coach Billings after the game, and he just said, hats off to the Snappers, man. He's like, they came in, they shut us down. Our pitchers had a tough time finding the zone. And it was just a rough time as there's some landscaping going on to our right. So if you hear some buzzing and stuff, that's people manicuring Sanford Memorial. Historic Sanford Memorial.
Beautiful, historic Sanford Memorial.
Oh, they added beautiful to the front
well,
too?
I added
no, yeah,
but
they definitely should. So who else we're going to talk? Oh, we are going to talk about another Sanford team that you're very familiar with.
Yes.
Once we go with the upsets.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Mavericks. So the Mavericks kind of not the best team in this league in terms of production so far in the beginning of the year, but for whatever reason, they seem to have the Scorpions' number. And this is a team that Baseball America wrote an article about being the best assembled team in Summer League baseball right now. So what are you seeing from the Mavs that they just are able to get one over on them over and over again, even though that team is basically the Florida Gators?
Well, the Mavericks, hey, I mean, this team competes.
Right.
There's no other way to look at it. They're in every game they play in. They might lose. They might have lost those games, and they were, lost a lot of games there. And you kind of thought, the losses are going to be down.
Yeah. And
they're not going to be ready to play every day. And they have. And I got to give credit to all those guys on that team, staying the course. And they beat a really good Scorpions team.
Yeah.
They were down 3-2, and I'm looking at Isaac Nunez really coming into his own at the plate. He's already been really good defensively.
Yeah.
And he, hit that 3-run homer in the later innings to kind of get the Mavericks to victory in that game. And I'm also looking at the pitching staff. They've been better. They've been better. Cameron Kelly comes on the mound and throws 3 1/3 innings. He was struggling before that game.
Right.
He comes on 3 1/3 innings, gets the win, and I was really impressed from what I saw from him in the box score, and just a really nice win there for the Mavericks. And yesterday, this is Thursday, they played the Snappers. They were down 5-0 in that game through the first 2 innings.
Right.
And they could have just laid an egg. We beat the Scorpions.
Mailed it in, yeah.
Beat a great Scorpions team. And they were down 5-0, and they come back, get it within 5-4, get it within 6-5.
Right.
And had a chance with runners on, just were unable to get that hit. And they lost that game. But this team, they're good. They're good. I mean, like you said, maybe not as talented as some of the other teams, but you get some innings together and you can get some hits and you can get some wins. You never know. And they won 2 in a row to start the week. Now, obviously lost that game to the Snappers on Thursday, but I'd say a pretty overall good week for the Mavericks. And I think it's just from guys sticking together and not worrying about what their record was early on in the season. And they had a good week.
I mean, we saw that from the Dogs as well. I mean, they lost their first 4 games, and they come back, and now they're in the mix of it in the standings. I mean, they had a big game against the Loggerheads yesterday, which is Thursday. They won 11-3, and I think that's, Matt, you bring up a good point. That's something that not only is about the Mavericks, but this league in general. Like, there are no teams that just kind of go out there, mail it in, are like, oh, it's just summer ball. We're going to go in. Just like get our reps in. It doesn't matter if we win or lose. No, I think all these teams, all 10 of them,
they want to win.
They want to come in and they want to win some ball games.
Yeah.
So it's very, I don't know. It's definitely a lot of fun to watch. It makes every game very watchable and very tune-inable, if that's a term that we can use. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to say very listenable because, I mean, we make the games listenable, and so do our other broadcasters.
So
do our other broadcasters.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. But that kind of brings me over into one more upset that we saw this week before we're actually going to have breaks. Now, no sponsors still, much to my ire and dismay. But, oh, no, somebody's going to walk across the whoa, what a save by Conlan.
Yeah, what a save.
Oh, my goodness. We almost had somebody walk right in front of the camera. Just complete disregard. And Conlan just pantomimes. He's like, no. He's like, stop. And it's like, shoving with his arms and it worked out, and it's great. And although
where were we?
I think we're going to talk about
another upset.
Another upset.
Okay.
So that would have been an upset. That would have been a little upsetting.
That definitely.
We would have had to do it over. Yeah, but we
Yeah.
didn't have to because of Conlan.
Good.
And
Good job, Conlan.
He's going to be a guest on our show.
Yeah, he's going to be a guest on our show.
But right after we talk about this.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I wanted to talk to you about it. And this might not have been as big of an upset, but I know that you called this game. And I came and attended it. Was doing a lot of work during it. But the Storm and the Loggerheads. Now, the Loggerheads, another team that did not get off to the best start. And the Storm are, as the little brother team to the Lightning, the new team in town. They have a lot of young players. They're always looking for something to prove. And they fell just short against this Seminole County team. So what happened in that ball game? That was a game where they really could have just come back.
The Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Storm.
Yeah, the Loggerheads, they just they had 2 really big hits from Brandon Drapeau. I mean, he was awesome in that game. He not only did he get two hits and 2 doubles and 3 RBIs and was the main reason why they won the game. He came in and got the hose warmed up and got the save.
I like that term. Get the hose warmed up.
And
that's pretty good.
Yeah, he did a pretty good job on the mound. He goes to St. Joe's University, right? A little bit, or my cousin actually went there, graduated. So, and I'm from kind of that area, 45 minutes outside of Philly. So I was happy for him to get the win. But the Loggerheads in that game did a great job, and they kept the Storm in check. And that was the biggest thing. And you look at it, the Storm really had multiple opportunities to win that game.
Oh, there were so many times where they were up with guys on base.
Yep.
There was a wild pitch, a pass ball, or they stole something, and they were right on the cusp, and they would just fall short.
Yeah.
And that's been a problem for the Storm team this year, has been hitting with runners in scoring position. I think that's why they find themselves in that 500 range. But again, I was talking to Caleb Stallings after a win against the Lightning, and he said that a storm's brewing. So he's right. I think once that team really starts to click and you get an Alex Freeland like really, really going, and you get a Jeff Mejia that continues to get on base, and maybe a couple other guys, Nick Collins gets hot again, that could be a dangerous team. But yeah, another big upset against the Loggerheads, as we were just talking about.
Yeah, and like you said, the Storm's sitting there at 500. They've been pretty good, I'd say, to start through 10 games. But in that particular game, they just left a lot of opportunities out on the diamond and were unable to get the victory. And you got to give credit to the Loggerheads, what they did, and were able to sustain a lead, get the lead.
Yeah.
And then sustain the lead. And they got some big hits, and that's why they won that game. And Brandon Drapo really was awesome.
Yeah, and not only that, let's talk about some of the big hits they got against Carson Pillsbury. Super talented, young, almost a wunderkid. Like, just comes out there. His curveball is absolutely filthy, and they were able to lock in and maybe get the young kid a little rattled in the beginning. And he's super talented, but the Loggerheads were able to see that and rise to the challenge. And I guess that's kind of what an upset's all about. Is a team that, they come in as like it's a David Goliath situation, but, they're ready to rise to the occasion and be like, hey, you know what? Every game is a new game. We're going to come out here and we're going to play some baseball.
And that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Any team can be beat any day.
That's right.
Because there's so much talent around the league on so many different teams that if you don't bring your A game one game, you're going to get beat. And we saw it a good bit this week.
That's right. So some of the teams that we saw with those upsets, the Snappers and the Loggerheads, we have an expert on those two teams. He's going to be coming up in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break here on Florida League Fridays and then start off a new guest segment called Bye-Bye Birdsall. So we're going to have Conlan come in, and then we're going to chat with him on the other end of this break. How do you feel about taking a break, Matt, in the middle of this podcast?
It's kind of different, but
I'm
into it.
All right, we're going to do that.
I'm into it.
All right, so we're going to take as we said 15 times, a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk to Conlan. So thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Florida League Fridays with Zack and Matt. All right, so welcome back to Florida League Fridays and Matt, a new segment. It's going to be called Bye-Bye Birdsall.
Birdsall.
Yeah,
Let's get it.
Which is great.
The energy right now is it's off the charts.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you have Conlan on a broadcast or on a show, he takes it from 10 straight up to 11. So we're very excited to have him on the show. Conlan, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I just watched a great game against the Turtle Tussle.
The Turtle Tussle.
That's what we were calling it.
I love it. We have the Bad Weather Brawl in Leesburg, and now we have the Turtle Tussle. Oh, man.
It'll be a part 5, July 28th.
Oh, that's right. They're going to play each other 5 times. So, I don't know. I know next to nothing about these teams because they got off to a late start. They've only played the Lightning and the Storm a handful of times. So can you kind of give me an idea? Let's start with the Snappers. Can you give me a little bit of an identity and what people can expect to see out of this team if they listen or if they tune in on Flow Sports or, can even attend a game?
So with the Snappers, this is how it's going to be. The other team's not going to score a lot of runs.
Right.
They have let up no more than 5 runs. That happened first game against the Loggerheads. The rest, the highest after that was the River Rats, who we know have one of the better offenses in the league. They keep it low. They keep it low scoring because of starters like Ross, Dalton coming in later. You got Melvin Cotto, who's might be the pitcher of the week. We'll find out, but he's been great. Luke Drummond, coach told me, lights out this year. So they got a bunch of guys. I'm leaving out a ton. Connor Harris has done well. He struggled to get today, but he's done a good job. And it's just been the bats we've been waiting for. And in this 5-game win streak, the bats have come.
Yeah, let's talk about that 5-game win streak. And, just what's gone well. Because in the first, 6 games of the season, they only averaged 2 runs a game. Have they woken up now? Is this the real Snappers squad or is this an aberration?
Yeah, this is the real thing. They are hot. This is what I expected. They have a lot of incoming. They got a few guys that aren't, like Austin Davis, some guys that are veterans, and the pitchers are veterans in college. But a lot of guys incoming like Maxwell Romero, Gio. We got a lot of guys that are looking for their first college at bat, so it took them a while. But now you got Gio, who's been hot all season. He continues, but he needed help. Joe Brewer, 5-game hit streak. Austin Davis has gotten better each year at West Virginia. 5-game hit streak. They're just who's blanking on his name, but there's a lot of guys right now at the top. Oh, J.D. Urso.
There we go.
He joins the team late, comes in firing 2 for 3 the first 2 games, and he hasn't stopped since. So this offense has just been building and building, and now they're here to stay. And I'm telling you, that Lightning game, it might not be 6-0 next time when they play them.
6-1.
6-1. Sorry. It might not be that big, but they can compete with these teams.
Yeah.
And especially, I'm even saying like Scorpions, Rats. They might come back at the Rats next time. This offense has come.
Yeah, you're right. In a quick 5-game turnaround, they went from the cellar dwellers of the league all the way up to 4th place.
Yeah, and just kind of talking about that top of the lineup, just from watching them the last few games, J.D. Urso, Gio has been great. Austin Davis, do you think those 3 guys are going to kind of carry this team the whole way, or do you see some guys like Cody Forster and some guys who are at the bottom of the lineup being some other guys to step up, and or like Max Romero Jr., who got off to a good start and he's kind of slumping a little bit? Like, you see other guys coming through, you think?
Yeah, Max Romero, his coaches are even giving him a hard time, but he's going to get back. But the guy you mentioned, Cody Forster, I'm glad you mentioned him because he started out slow. A lot of guys have started out slow because they haven't played in 3 months, but he's coming into his own, and he actually started the year because of his expectations at the top of the lineup. Now he's been playing a lot, 10, 9, and so he has the speed, which the Snappers team and Loggerheads, both tremendous speed, but I think it's still going to come down to the pitching and the stuff behind the plate, which you got to see with me today what those guys can do behind the plate with Eberle getting that guy out at second, Braden Berry. So, yeah, Cody Forster will be a name to watch. We got Robert Post that just came back, and he hasn't seen play, like live arm, in 2 months. I know a lot of people haven't, but he hasn't even swung a bit. Like, he hasn't been working out because of surgery. So he's going to get – we saw a lot of pop-ups today. Once he starts seeing the ball, he'll be a big guy to watch too.
I want to transfer over to the Loggerheads now because they haven't really started like the Snappers, or they kind of both started slow, but they're still trying to find their footing. And, you got guys like McGuire Holbrook, who's looked really good. I've already mentioned Brandon Drapo, and, Demo as well on the mound has been really good, but it kind of seems like the bullpen is really what hurt them, and they've given up a bunch of runs. They gave up 11 runs there to the Diamond Dogs earlier this week. So what do you think needs to go right for them to kind of get on a streak? Kind of like what the Snappers are doing, because they started off slow.
Yeah, so I like their offense. I think they could score a little more runs, but we'll see. It has to go back to the pitching. And you mentioned the bullpen. I like the starters. I think Shear, if he starts, he's good. We saw Demo today. Phoebus as a closer went 3 innings yesterday, and he shut out anybody he's come across. But it's guys like Gordon is a good prospect. He's had a rough time. He started first game, came against the Suns, did well, and then he's kind of toppled since then, but played 2 good teams. So he'll need to step up. We got Ben Chestnut we haven't seen since probably, I think, the first game, but I'm not sure. Justin Clark came out today, let up 2 runs, but he's an arm that they can look forward to. I think they got the guys. It's not going to be as good as the Snappers. The pitching, I just don't think it's going to be as good as the Snappers. But you can win games off this offense if you just let 4 or 5 runs. It's not going to be like the Snappers that let just 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, tell us about a little bit more about the highlights of the Loggerheads offense. Obviously, they're starting the season hitting around 210. They're near the bottom of the league in the standings, but we've seen the Snappers wake up, lack of a better term, in a snap. So what's it going to take for the Loggerheads to get rolling and get going and maybe get more competitive in the standings?
Yeah, so that's a good one. But so here's the thing with the offense. They got a lot of guys. Like Parker Smith has been hitting the ball, good contact.
Yeah.
He just hasn't got down. We know in baseball, we're all fans of baseball. It's sometimes a luck sport. Like, sometimes you're just hitting bad luck. I think Parker Smith's just in a bad luck right now, like not getting some balls down. Holbrook is getting started. He got 2 walks today and a hit. Coy Phillips, I've seen this guy personally. I know you guys are going to say it, but
your boy Coy.
This guy, he started out bad. It hasn't been good, but he's now had 2 hits in a row.
He hasn't been we're looking at his stats though. He hasn't really struck out that much. You know
he's
what I
putting
mean?
the ball in
like
play.
He's putting the ball in play, just like you said. It's a luck sport.
Yeah, and they got a lot of guys that Coy Phillips is one of them. We've seen Ben Abernathy today, and any time if he gets on first, he's going to third with his stolen bases. Braden Berry, and Coy Phillips, he hasn't gotten a chance to get on base as much, but once he gets on base, man had 4 triples in a shortened season.
Right.
20 games, a little more than 20 games at Santa Fe, 4 triples. That's his speed. So he will come up. They got easily Dela Cruz, who's great at behind the plate. They got the pieces. Like, both teams of the Seminole County behind the plate has been stellar.
All right, well, Conlan, we thank you so much for coming on the show, and we hope that you come on again. You gave us some really terrific insight. I mean, that's it for me, Matt. Do you have anything else for him?
Man. I appreciate you coming on, and that's good insight.
Yeah. All right, so you can catch Conlan, well, depending on when this is released, you can catch Conlan tonight with Matt, right? You guys have another game?
Yep, we got the Rats and Storm tonight.
Right, and then Conlan's going to be coming on with me tomorrow morning, Saturday morning at 11 at Pat Thomas Stadium, so we're going to have a lot of fun. Conlan, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to do some of our more gamey segments. We're going to have Hot or Not and our Player of the Week to wrap it all up. You're listening to Florida League Fridays with Zack and Matt, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Florida League Fridays. And Matt, I think this is going to become my favorite part of the show.
It's a great part.
Oh, yeah. We're going to do our segment. It's called Hot or Not. And, of course, we're not referring to the weather because it's always a million degrees, except in this room right now. We picked the one consistently air-conditioned location in the entire state of Florida. And so here we are in the Buddy Lake Room in beautiful, historic Sanford Memorial Stadium. That's all 5. Okay, so we're going to start our Hot or Not segment. Of course, this is when we bring up a couple of teams. We're going to do it a little differently this time. Instead of me just giving them to Matt, I'll give one to Matt. He goes back at me. We're going to go back and forth for about 4 teams, and we're going to see if teams that are playing particularly well right now, if we think that they can continue, they're hot, or if, again, like a word I used before, it's an aberration. This team's just kind of caught lightning in a bottle and maybe not, and we need to see a little more from them. So, Matt, the first team that I want to throw your way is the Winter Park Diamond Dogs. Now, they're sitting at 6-6, but they have won 6 of their last 10 games after going 0-4. They were on our Hot or Not list last week, and you said that they were hot, but they lose to the Lightning. They lose to the Squirps earlier today. What are your thoughts on the Diamond Dog squad?
Well, I think they're still hot. 6-6, you're right there in the middle of the Florida League, and I like from what I've seen from this team. I talked to Chuck Shaw after their 2-1 win over the Squeeze. He was really impressed with their pitching staff. Right. Zack Camp, who just joined the team, was absolutely brilliant. He said, hey, this guy's not going to throw 92 miles an hour, but he's the kind of pitcher he likes because of how he mixes his pitches, how he competes his tail off. And I think this team right now, you kind of saw the offense kind of get going against the Loggerheads, but they again struggled again with the bats in the game against the Scorpions Day. But I think they're hot. I'm going to go hot just because they've already were not hot. And they're still, like,
they're keeping
coming
it alive
together and playing and racking up some wins. So I think this team right now is hot. I think their pitching staff is getting stronger as the summer has moved on. I like Alex Carpenter in that closer role. I really do. I interviewed him after the game. And he told me he likes being in that role. He's like, I don't like to think. I'm not a thinker. So, like, all I want to do is kind of just throw.
Right.
And you can kind of do that in the bullpen, like, later game role. And he has given up some walks and hits and had some trouble, but he's been able to work out of it. And that's been the difference for him. But I think this pitching staff as a whole has gotten increasingly better after an abysmal start.
Yeah, so that team, I would have to agree with you on that. I think that the Dogs are looking a lot better. They played a really tight 9-inning contest against the Lightning on Monday, and they looked really good for most of it. Now the Lightning ended up coming back and scoring a lot of runs towards the end of the game to make up for it. But, yeah, this Dogs team looks very tough, and they're going to be right in the mix the whole time. So, Matt, what's the first one that you have for me?
I'm going to go with the Seminole County Snappers. I know we've been talking a lot about them, and you can say, oh, wait, they beat the Loggerheads 3 out of 5 times for their 5-game win streak. But you do have wins over the Lightning on there as well. So what do you think, hot or not?
Well, Matt, you took almost 30% of my points right there. But, yes, the Snappers, I thought a lot about them in their 5-game winning streak. And, of course, them winning this morning, I think, kind of helped a little bit. Now, again, they beat the Loggerheads 3 times. That's a team that stumbled out of the gate a little bit. But, I mean, I was right there for that game against the Lightning, and they just looked like a team that had put it all together. They had, as we mentioned before, they had come into the game averaging just 2 runs per contest. They put up 6 against the Lightning, who were first in the league in ERA. I believe they were somewhere in the 2.71 range, I think, at that point. And then, they score 14 against the Loggerheads. They score another 3 against the Loggerheads. 6 against the Mavs, who's a pitching staff that you said is starting to get a lot better. And then today they scored 4 again against the Loggerheads. So the reason why I think they're hot is because the pitching has stayed there. They allowed 1, 3, 0, 5, and 2 runs in that 5-game stretch, but then the offense has really blown up. So this is a team that I think is hot. Again, they moved from 10th all the way up to 4th in the standings, and I don't think anybody wants to run into them. I mean, they're going to play the Dogs tomorrow, and I think they have a chance to continue the streak. They have the Dogs, and then they have DeLand, and then they go and play a squeeze team that's been very up and down. So I'd have to say that the Snappers are hot, Matt.
I'd agree with that. I think just from seeing them the last few games, they've really impressed me. And what really has impressed me the most about them is their pitching. So I'm with you 100%. I'd go hot with them as well.
All right, so Matt, the next one, this is a team that you cover a lot. Let's talk about the Sanford Mavericks. Now, they had their first 2-game winning streak of the season. They beat the Scorpions again. They've just been
they have their number.
Yeah, they've been a perpetual thorn in the Scorpion side all season, and they looked to have been playing their best baseball that they have since we started about 2-3 weeks ago. So are the Mavs hot or not?
Not. They're not.
Okay.
I think it's
that was quick.
They kind of caught lightning in a bottle.
Okay.
This week, but that's not to say that they're not still competing
or getting better.
Because
right.
they are. I mean, look at these scores. The last. I'm going back Thursday, July 9th.
Yeah.
Lost to the Rats in extra innings 9-5. Then 2 games got canceled. Beat the Loggerheads 4-3. Beat the Scorpions 5-3. Lost to the Snappers 6-5. They're in Leesburg tonight, which is Friday, against the Mavericks. You're going to see how they look in that game because it'll be interesting to see because you got a bunch of close games in there. Let's see if they can keep it close, maybe win that game.
Right.
But I'm going to go not. They're sitting there at 3-7, and they did catch a 2-game win streak. I like from what I've seen, they've improved. I think the bats just need to keep on getting better. Jake Holland started to find his groove a little bit. He hit a 2-run triple, standing triple in that game. Noah Orlando hit a solo home run, and his bat was kind of quiet to start. And Isaac Nunez has really looked really strong. As of late, I mean, he's just crazy in the field. I think he's one of the best shortstops in this league defensively, and he's starting to come around. And I think it's a solid ball club, and they're going to compete and be in games, but I'm going to go not.
Okay. So then you have one more?
I do have one more, and it's going to be the Orlando Scorpions. 8-3, beat the Winter Park Diamond Dogs today, Friday, excuse me. Today, 1-0. 2 of their 3 losses are to the Mavericks.
Right, and then the other one was a forfeit home to the Lightning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is this team hot? I think so.
I would have
hot or not?
I'd have to agree. Well, for no other reason, let's put baseball aside. Just their color scheme and jerseys, smoking hot. I mean, this team with the purple and the black and the white, they look so sharp out there on the field.
Yeah.
I love what I see when they step out on the field. I love describing what they're wearing to the folks at home that maybe aren't on Flow Sports but are listening on the Mavericks cast. It's a lot of fun. So just with that alone, the Scorps are hot. And then let's go into now and bring the baseball into it, which is what we're supposed to talk about. The Scorps are, this is a team that's hot. I mean, they come in, they beat the Squeeze 6-4. Yeah, they lost to the Mavs, but I'll take that as a hiccup game because then they go out and they dominate the DeLand Suns, which is, if you're the Scorpions, something that you feel like you're supposed to do given the Suns' positioning in the standings. They win back-to-back games against them, and then they have I feel like Scorpions win against the Dogs 1-0. I mean, when this team's pitching staff is really on all cylinders, I mean, again, this team is basically the University of Florida when it comes to the pitching staff. They have so many great guys, so many good arms. Even Jake Blair, who's I believe is going to Santa Fe. He's another guy that can really get hot. The 2.44 team ERA is first in the league. They put teams down left and right, and now the Bats are starting to go a little bit, even though it's a 1-0 victory
1-0
today.
Victory. So are the Bats going?
Huh? Well, I mean, it's one game. Before that, they scored 6, 5, 7, and 4, which
Okay,
are all
so
very respectable
very
numbers.
respectable.
Right.
And I think that's what they've been waiting for, though.
Oh, yeah. The Bats had to
pitching's
catch up. Yeah.
Pitching's absolutely dynamite, as you mentioned.
Right.
I'd go hot, too.
Yeah.
I mean, this team, hands down, from the talent perspective, probably the best in the Florida League.
Mm-hmm.
And they proved it,
Yeah.
really. And I think once the playoffs come around, you're really going to start seeing that team pick it up even more than they have. Right?
Yeah, they're going to be very scary in a series. Forget it. Especially when all the shackles are lifted from the pitching. Like, even with 60, a lot of the best pitchers on the teams looked really good. Like, I saw the squeeze with Bryce Hubbard. He was on fire. Sam Bennett for the Lightning. Four shutout, no hit hitting. So we're going to start seeing the cream of the crop rise all the way up.
Yep.
And I think the Scorpions are going to be big beneficiaries of it.
Yep.
So now we'll move into our final part of the show. We're no breaks this time. We're just going to go right and carry off this great hot or not momentum.
Continue the energy.
Yeah, why would you want us to stop?
We got 2 fans in the thing. We got Conlan, who was on the show earlier. Check that out if you haven't. I don't know why you wouldn't.
It was earlier in the show, yeah. So if you just decided to fast forward to hot or not, how about you do that high speed scrubbing, you go back a little bit, and then, as Matt suggested, you'll be good. And we also have Madison, who was nice enough to shoot that segment with Conlan.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Should we just break right into the next one? Just roll right in?
Okay.
Well, Madison had a more enthusiastic yes than Conlan's no, so we're going to jump right into our Play of the Week segment. So I hope we argue about this because I think it's fun to argue.
Yeah.
And so over Player of the Week. Now, I think that for me, it's pretty cut and dry, but also I could be a little biased because I've seen him in all of these games, but I don't see how you could not give it to Gabriel Rincones. He's been so good for the Lightning. Finally coming alive so far through the 3 games he's played this week. 6 for 12, a solo home run, 5 ribbies, and a double. He now is tied for the league lead with 3 home runs, and he's got 15 RBIs.
15 RBIs.
Yeah, on the whole season, which is 3 more than Farmer, who's next. I think that Rincones is a guy that's finally starting to creep up and get a little bit better. I mean, he had 2 home runs coming into this week, but something that's impressed me about him is his poise at the plate. He doesn't swing out a lot of stuff out of the zone, and his home runs and hits go to every single field. He has a home run to left, 1 to center, and 1 to right so far this season. So I'm this week alone, 500, the home run, the 5 ribbies, the other extra base hit. I don't see how it could not be Gabriel Rincon. And he plays a great right field.
Yeah, you look at the 15 RBIs, that's something to look at. And you mentioned the extra base hits and what he's doing for the Lightning, helping them win there as they're in the top of the standings. But I'm going to go with a team that we talked about a lot. Mm-hmm. That's the Seminole County Snappers, and that's because maybe if I saw Rincones play this week, I'd have a different opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I haven't seen him
play.
Honestly, I think I've seen the Lightning play once here. That's it.
When they played who?
Was
early
on in the
game?
season.
Oh, okay.
Early on in the season.
Because it wasn't a game, because we've only done Storm games together, yes.
So I got Gio Lorenzo as my player of the week. I mean, you got to look at this guy and say, dang, this guy could be the player of the week. Let's be honest here. The last 2 games, 6 RBIs. In a game against the Mavericks, 2 hits, a double, which really got them started, and a single, 4 RBIs in that game. Then what's he do? In the 1 at bat today against the Loggerheads, who he's got the Loggerheads number at this point in time. 1 at bat, he came out in the second inning, a single up the middle, 2 RBIs. 6 RBIs total. I think there was 7 RBIs total because in the 14-3 win, he said, hey, okay, let's do 2 more hits, 2 runs. He's a really solid player. And he's a switch-hitting catcher. And what he also does on the defensive side is really, really incredible. But he's hitting .542. He's got 13 hits, .542, 13 for 24 in just 9 games.
Yeah.
I think he could be making a run at Rincones, but that's my player of the week because I've seen him the most.
Right.
I think it's
pretty
like
neck
1
and
and
neck.
2.
Yeah. It's like a 1A, 1B.
1A, 1B kind of thing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what all the voters do because I know I'm going to put Rincones up there for when eventually at the end because we get to nominate who the league shows for Player of the Week. It's going to be a good time. But, I mean, so Yeah, with the Snappers.
And you got to look at this, too. 5 wins in a row. I think that's got to play into something.
You're right. I think that does have to play into something. And
like if let's say the Snappers lost 4 out of 5 instead, and they were like 2 and
yeah,
and he was doing that. It kind of
it's kind of like
it's still great for him,
right? It's kind of like the Mike
team
Trout
isn't winning
conundrum.
anyway.
Yeah, like should Trout still win MVP even when his team doesn't make the playoffs?
Yeah.
But the numbers you're saying with Lorenzo, I mean, they sound like they're good
and
enough
he's
to
like
make up for it.
helping them
Win the games.
Win the games.
Well, that's why I think about Rincones too. Like, so they lost 6-1 to the Snappers, but he was a big part of that Dogs win. He was a really big part of the Storm win yesterday. Even though it was 9-3, he knocked in 3 runs, and they came at huge times during the ball game and really shifted the momentum. That game was really close for a while. It ended up being 4-2 at one point. And then they got a lot of separation in no small parts of Rincones. So, these are 2 guys to watch for the rest of the week and even moving forward. Yeah, I mean, and they're on 2 teams that are in the top of the standings.
Top 4.
I mean, the Lightning are first, and then the Snappers have moved all the way up to 4th, and they don't seem like they're going to slow down.
Not anytime soon.
No.
The way they're pitching.
Yeah, so those are our players of the week. And, Matt, do you have any final thoughts that you want to bring out here? Or you just satisfied with week number 2 of this great podcast?
I'm pretty satisfied. I'll say that. It was a team effort, I think, all around here in the Buddy Lake room. The energy was absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like an absolute moonshot to left field.
I said that the other day on the broadcast. I took your line. I said, as Matt McClure would say, that was an absolute moonshot.
To left.
Said over, yeah. Well, this one was to right.
I said, hey, you could say right, left, center.
Whatever one you want. You can say foul,
infield,
backward, moonshot.
It doesn't matter. But if you want to grade this podcast from like 0 to moonshot, it was probably moonshot.
It's moonshot worthy. So we could say that it was actually out of this world.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell your friends about us. Tell your sponsor friends about us as well. We'd love to do some reads here. I'm not going to go on the same tangent I went on last time because I don't think it needs to be done again. But, there's a red – if we were going to put this podcast on Hot or Not, I'd say we're hot. We got so much – we had so much good feedback last time. I mean, Rich Billings Sr. sent me a text. He's like, you and Matt did a great job with the podcast. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for the good work.
The feedback was awesome, and that's what's kind of motivating us to do it. You get a great reaction from it.
Yeah.
And it was pretty awesome to see the amount of retweets and the likes and the views on YouTube. It's a lot of fun, man, and hopefully you guys continue to listen to this podcast. If you missed the first episode, just exit out of this one. You can finish it, pause it, go to the first one, listen to it. So you got that one under control.
Yeah.
And then if you're bored and it's 11 a.m. and you got nothing to do, there's baseball all around. So make sure you tune in.
That's right. We have plenty of great games coming up for the end of the week and a full slate on for week number 4. And then we'll be back with our next podcast next Friday right here on Florida League Fridays with Zack and Matt. So thank you all so much for tuning in. We really appreciate all the love and support, and we hope that it keeps rolling with you. Thank you so much, and take care. We'll see you next week.